It began with Soviet manuals and rusted kits, evolving into a formidable industrial force capable of challenging the US Navy in the Pacific. Today, we explore every submarine class ever made by China, from the noisy Cold War relics to the modern silent killers. This is the complete overview of Chinese undersea power. We have to begin where it all started, the Cold War copies. The Type 03, or Whiskey class, was the People's Liberation Army Navy's training tool. In the 1950s, Moscow supplied Beijing with designs for the Soviet project, 613 basic diesel-electric patrol boats using World War II technology. They aimed to teach engineers to weld pressure hulls safely. While lacking modern sensors and having a loud acoustic signature, they were a crucial first step in naval development. Type 033, the Romeo class, was based on the Soviet project 633 and produced over 80 units by China. For decades, it represented Chinese naval power, with its large, outdated fleet of diesel submarines that prioritized quantity over stealth. Cramped and lacking modern sensors, they functioned as expendable torpedo batteries to overwhelm superior forces. Type 035, the Ming class, was China's first attempt to modify a Soviet design rather than simply copy it. Despite initial defects, later variants like the 35G and 35B became competent coastal defenders. Armed with modern acoustic homing torpedoes, these heavily modified submarines still serve in navies such as those of Bangladesh and Myanmar. Now, we move to the heavyweights, the nuclear-powered attack submarines, or SSNs. Type 091, the Han class, was Mao's dream realized a nuclear submarine built entirely in China. However, it earned notoriety as an underwater tractor due to being extremely loud, making it detectable by enemy sonar from great distances. Early crews faced high radiation levels due to primitive reactor shielding. 5 were built, serving as China's primary deterrent against American carrier groups. While dangerous to its own sailors, the Han class demonstrated China's nuclear capabilities. Type 093, the Shang class, the redemption arc. After the Han, the engineers went back to the drawing board to build a boat that could actually hunt. The Shang is often compared to early flights of the Russian Victor III or the American Los Angeles class. It dropped the noise levels significantly and introduced wire-guided torpedoes and anti-ship missiles. It was no longer just a loud target, it was a legitimate threat in the deep water. Type 93B, the upgraded Shang. This is where things get serious. You can spot these by the slight hump behind the sail. That's not just for hydrodynamics. It houses a vertical launch system, VLS. This modification turned a pure hunter-killer into a land attack platform capable of firing YJ-18 cruise missiles. It represents the shift from a defensive coastal navy to a blue water force that can strike targets hundreds of miles inland while remaining submerged. Type 095, the Sui class, is a highly secretive third-generation attack submarine currently in development. It is rumored to replace traditional propellers with a pump-jet propulsor, similar to the US Virginia class, which would reduce noise significantly. If accurate, the Sui class could effectively hunt American carrier groups in the Pacific without detection. Next, the strategic deterrent, the boomers, nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarines, SSBN. Type 092, the Xia class, the lonely prototype. Only one hull, number 406, was ever completed. It was essentially a stretched Han-class hull, stuffed with missile tubes. It was plagued by mechanical gremlins and rarely left the dock. It never conducted a true deterrent patrol, serving instead as a floating classroom for missile technicians. It proved they could launch a nuke from the sea, but not reliably enough to bet national survival on it. The Type 094, or Jin class, is the backbone of China's nuclear deterrent, distinguished by its large hump behind the conning tower for JL-2 ballistic missiles. While less hydrodynamic than Western subs, the upgraded 94A variants feature a smoother sail and improved baffles, making them harder to detect as they operate in the South China Sea. Type 096, the Tang class, the Ghost in the Machine. Currently under construction, this is the monster the West is worried about. Larger than the Jin, it is designed to carry the JL-3 missile, which has the range to hit the continental United States from the safety of Chinese coastal waters. It incorporates the stealth lessons learned from the Type 93B and 095, likely making it the first Chinese boomer that can vanish into the open ocean without being instantly tailed by a hunter-killer. Let's switch gears to the modern conventional fleet. This is where China truly innovated and separated itself from its Soviet teachers. Type 039, the Song class, the stepchild. This was the first fully indigenous conventional hull, moving away from the cigar shape of the Soviet era to a modern teardrop hull. It features a distinctive stepped sail that looks like a staircase. It was the bridge between the old junkers and the modern age, proving that Chinese shipyards could integrate Western-style electronics and French-influenced sonar suites into a homegrown package. Type 39A, the Yuan class, the silent workhorse, often mislabeled by the West as the Type 041. This is the most important conventional submarine in the Chinese arsenal. The secret weapon here is AIP, air-independent propulsion. Unlike standard diesels that have to surface or snorkel every few days to charge batteries, exposing them to radar, the Yuan can stay submerged for weeks, running on internal oxygen and Stirling engines. In the shallow, noisy waters of the littorals, a battery-powered Yuan is quieter than a nuclear sub and twice as dangerous to surface ships. Type 39C, the advanced Yuan, the newest evolution, spotted recently in the water. It features a radical, angled sail design that resembles the Swedish A-26 or a stealth fighter fuselage. This faceting is designed to deflect active sonar pings above the waterline, reducing the boat's target strength. It is the apex predator of the conventional fleet, built specifically to ambush high-value targets in the first island chain. But how do you test these weapons? You need the test beds. Type 031, the Golf class, another Soviet relic. Originally built from Soviet plans, this diesel boat carries ballistic missile tubes in the sail. It never saw combat. Instead, it spent its life launching experimental missiles. Every time China developed a new nuke, the old Golf was the one risking its hull to test it. It's the crash test dummy of the ballistic program. Type 032, the Qing class, the Chonky Boy. This is the world's largest active conventional submarine. It is an absolute leviathan, built solely for testing. It has a massive, boxy sail that can fit the newest intercontinental ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and even special forces delivery vehicles. It's a floating laboratory, doing the dangerous work so the frontline combatants don't have to. We also have the experimental and unmanned programs. The Sailless Submarine, a mystery vessel caught on satellite imagery. It has no conning tower, just a smooth, flat deck. This suggests a test bed for extreme hydrodynamics, or, more likely, a large unmanned underwater vehicle, XUUV. In the future of warfare, the submarine you don't see might not even have a crew. MS-200 Midget Submarine, a return to small-scale warfare. This is a 200-ton stealth vessel designed for special forces insertion. It can operate in waters too shallow for the big hunters, dropping frogmen and mines right into enemy harbors. Then, there is the export market. China is now the shipyard for the world's developing navies, S-20 and S-26T. These are the export variants of the deadly Yuan class. Thailand and Pakistan have bought into this lineage. They offer near-nuclear capabilities thanks to AIP at a fraction of the price. The Hangor class, a custom-built hunter for the Pakistan Navy. Based on the Type 39B, these heavily armed boats are designed with one specific goal: to counter the Indian Navy in the Arabian Sea. Type 35G export. We mentioned the Ming earlier. China refurbished these old hulls, slapped in new interiors and sensors, and sold them to nations like Bangladesh. It's affordable naval power, giving smaller nations a seat at the underwater table using recycled hulls. Finally, we cannot ignore the civilian deep divers. These aren't weapons, but they are proof of mastery over the deep. Jiaolong, the Sea Dragon. This manned submersible took China down to 7,000 meters. It was the flag planter, proving the pressure hulls could withstand the crushing weight of the abyss. Shenhai Yongxi, the Deep Sea Warrior, a localized, rugged workhorse for scientific research at 4,500 meters, achieving high-frequency dive rates that Western equivalents struggle to match. Fendouzha, the Striver, the Champion. In 2020, it touched the bottom of the Mariana Trench, over 10,000 meters down. Only a handful of vessels in human history have survived that depth. It demonstrated that Chinese materials science had caught up to the absolute limits of physics. From the leaky rivets of the Type 03 Whiskey to the silent, stealth multifaceted hull of the Type 39C. This has been the story of a navy that refused to stay on the surface. They copied, they failed, they learned, and finally, they innovated. The arsenal is complete, the tubes are loaded, and the engines are running. This is the reality of Chinese firepower.